Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. 866-594-4150. Let's just get right to it.
You
Shannon,
slackers.
Where have you been?
I've been everywhere, man.
Mm-hmm.
I just am totally impressed that last week Russ went solo on the show.
That's the third time I've done that. Why are you so impressed?
I was impressed. I mean, it was a 20
Because he
call
didn't
show, and
pay attention before.
I probably not.
He didn't notice before.
I didn't know that you'd ever done a radio show solo. I knew you'd done YouTube and we'd done some partial shows.
This is the third one I've done with Doug. Just the two of us. But
did not hit my radar.
Yeah, this time you said the day before. You said, well, "Are we doing a best of show?"
Yeah, because that's what I thought we were doing the best of show. And my wife sends me a text. She goes, Russ is doing the show by himself, because I told her we were doing a best of show too. And I said, I go, he's probably doing a YouTube show. And then she goes, no, it's on the radio. I'm like, holy smokes, good for him. It hit my radar, because that's a lot. I mean, to be able to concentrate on the board, hit all the spots, because we're broadcasting live on radio at the same time right now as we're capturing podcast information, YouTube information. You got to monitor all the feeds and then have the brain turned on to answer questions. That's not easy.
That's all right. I got the listeners to hold me up.
Well, I've been gone. My duties for the trade association, the Automotive Recycler Association, I'm going to be the president here in Birmingham. I'll get installed this fall, but right now I'm the first vice president. So we're doing a lot of traveling. So I was first in Niagara Falls, Ontario, which was beautiful to see that. And I met a wonderful group of people from the corridor that goes from Niagara Falls to Toronto is just amazingly busy. It was just crazy, the commerce that's going up and down that area right there. And then we went into Toronto, and Toronto is a very large city, obviously, and traffic jams galore. And
Did you go up in the CN Tower?
We actually did. We had dinner in the CN Tower. That was our goal, was to go up there for that off day and have dinner there. We got a reservation at 4:30. I'm a bad planner. Did not realize that the Toronto Blue Jays were having their home opener that day.
Oh, boy.
And so it became a bit of a mess. But we did get out of the CN Tower before the 8th inning, and they were losing bad. So people were leaving early already. So we did get caught up in a little bit of traffic that way, but it was bad regardless. So that was awesome. But no, we met a great group of Ontario auto recyclers. We saw our friend Steve Fletcher, who's been in our industry as a leader for 35 years, retire. And so our trade association out of the United States wanted to make a great presence. It was great to be in Canada, and a lot of wonderful people that we met. So that was a wonderful trip. And then after that, I had to go to Washington, D.C. for our annual Hill Days, where we are visiting. People come from all over, and we visit Washington, and we go talk to our delegations from our different states.
Did you get a word in edgewise with all the stuff going there?
We actually had some very productive meetings.
Cool.
We were very excited about the productive meetings that came from different people that know folks within different areas of the country.
Hey, do you want to take a minute to not talk about what's going on and talk about automotive? Yes. Let's go into a quiet room somewhere.
You bet. No, we were talking to people about a lot of different things. We keyed in on some certain issues that we were talking about with producer responsibility on EV batteries. That they need to realize what they're building and not just dump it on us to take care of it. And so that was one of our things we're talking. The Right to Repair Act is a very important issue that is getting some traction again to modify and bring into force some of the things that have already been decided on a regular consumer level. The PART Act, which is about the catalytic converters, actually having the manufacturers and mark them so that law enforcement can quickly and easily identify where a stolen catalytic converter was taken from.
Nice. That would be huge, wouldn't it?
So if they could find some guy running down I-90 and he's got 25 catalytic converters in his vehicle, and they have VIN numbers on them that match them back to the vehicle, and they can get a hold of law enforcement and say, yep, that one came from here, from this law case, this one came from here. I think we got this figured out. That would be instantly done.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have to protect the interests of a professional auto recycler who legitimately removes catalytic converters from cars that we're dismantling, that they allow a good system for us to be able to report electronically the vehicles we've dismantled and the converters which came from them, which currently don't have numbers on them.
Right.
And so that was one of the things that we were talking about. And so it's just a lot of issues that are very fundamental to what we do. And so that was great. And then following that, right on the tails of that, we had our the United Recyclers Group and Team PRP, which our company is a member of both, have been for years, Team PRP recently. And they had their national conference in Orlando, Florida, and there was close to 1,000 people there. And so I had to do a couple of presentations and then represent the trade association all at the same time. That was a really, really good event. And what I saw there was the advent in our industry of how artificial intelligence is going to be used.
Okay.
It had not hit any of our seminars really until this year on different ways that it can be used in our industry. And it got my mind cooking about some ideas too, of how a person can utilize that to be more accurate and more efficient in what we do. But other than that, yeah, we've been moving.
Nothing
other than that.
I've been moving. There's a lot going on. It's been great. I'm glad you guys held the fort down. Russ, thank you, because I know Chris you were gone too. You were in Orlando just before me.
Yeah, same
for
time.
Children's Miracle
for a couple
Network.
Days, yeah.
Did you guys talk about that at all? Give it a little love.
Chris,
haven't been back yet.
Chris's journey was epic, though.
Yeah, it was. 866-594-4150. We'll probably come back to that maybe on the after show.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk.
I'm really curious.
Let's talk to Jeff in Missouri. Jeff, you're on the Under the Hood show. What can we do for you?
Good morning. I have a tricky one that I think might actually be two problems. I've got. Doug asked me to mention that I was watching the Instagram Live.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
All
Awesome.
right. So,
yes, thank you.
Thank you. I remembered to push that
But
button.
I've got an '07 Jeep Wrangler JKU, and it has an electrical problem that I don't think was part of the rodent damage.
What, the rodent?
So
damage?
rodent damage was problem one. It sat in a barn for 5 days, and rodents got and ate one of the spark plug wires and purple wire that goes to I think it's the manifold absolute pressure sensor.
Purple ones taste better.
But you know what? I fixed a Hummer, and it had all the purple wires eaten and nothing else. Humvee.
I didn't say that
It was wild.
as a
wasn't a
complete
joke.
joke. I think I've heard Russ say that before.
It's the dyes and stuff they put in those, and a lot of the wiring is, soybean
Sugar
based.
made out of sugar and
Made out of sugar and
Straight mouse crack.
rat food. It's made out of rat food. They just grind it up and coat the wires.
All right, so keep rolling.
It's my buddy's Jeep. He put it in the barn. He went to start it, and it's no crank, no start. So he had it towed to me. Tow truck driver noticed the wires on top. So I fixed those. It's still no crank, no start. The battery is good. It tests good voltage. I have a tester, not a toaster tester, a real one. And the connections are good and solid, but you put in the key and it's dead. But if you unhook the battery, let it discharge, hook it back up, I will have power at the ignition switch for 10 minutes and then nothing again. Or if I turn on the headlights, the ignition will power up.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like you got a problem. It sounds like it's making a connection.
Exactly.
What I'm saying is it sounds like it's making a connection under a load. If we have a battery we put in a vehicle and we don't clean and properly tighten the cables, there can be just a film of resistance built up in there, little tiny bit of corrosion, just not making good contact. And that battery, you can turn the key, it'll click, and you may even get a spark right there at the terminal, and then everything will go dead on the dash. You turn it off, you wait a minute, and then poof, it pops back. So it sounds to me like somewhere in your power or ground circuit, one of the connections, maybe more than one, but probably just one is open like that. It's not real clean and tight. May even be like a negative battery cable bolted to a painted spot on the block, or you've got a good ground to the battery, from the battery to the block. That's solid, but you've got no body ground. So your only ground is the engine trying to ground through its mounts. And when it's trying to ground through those mounts, they're greasy, they're loose, they're made of a lot of rubber with just some metal in between, and it may not be grounding good. One thing you might try when everything's dead like that, if you see that there's a ground there, just shake the engine. Give it a good shake. And if everything pops back on, that's your problem. You need to run another ground from your battery to the body of the vehicle. Always got to have that body ground.
So, yeah, there are 9, I think, grounds in the engine compartment.
Mm-hmm.
The body ground is a strap that goes from the passenger side of the engine block
To the body.
up to the firewall, then up to the hood.
Yep.
And then there's a couple in the front. The battery, I have cleaned the cables, dielectric grease, battery protector spray, known good battery. I swapped it for another known good battery. I mean, everything is clean and tight. The 4 grounds under the kick panels, 2 on the left, 2 on the right.
G101.
That was my main focus, was batteries and grounds, and I have zero ohms to the negative battery terminal to every single one of them.
Okay, well, here's the easy way, but this is longer. You got to do it. Go to the battery. You're going to take your meter and you're going to stick it right in the center of that negative terminal. Have somebody hold it there so you're not worried about the cable. Then go to your ignition switch. Check your power there. If this thing's dead, check your power there, and then back up to the next thing, which is the junction block under the dash. See if you got power there. Go to the other side of the junction block. Back up. Go to the fuse block. You're going to have to go backwards as you go. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come right back because there's more to this call than we can handle.
Jeff, stay right where you are. We're going to take a break. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Jeff in Missouri's got an issue. You want to reset this there, Russ?
Okay, so Jeff, we've got no power going on. So what we're going to have to do is
big rodents.
We're going to have to go a little longer way. We're going to have to go to the ignition switch where you're losing that power. You've got nothing there. After a few minutes and it's gone, you have to start there when there's no power and back up until you get to the source of the power, which is the battery. So we're going to go from the ignition switch. If there's nothing there, we go down to the junction block under the dash. Nothing there, we go to the other side of the junction block in the engine compartment. Nothing there, because that's a brake. We're going to continue moving on all the way back to the fuse box. We're going to check both sides of that, in and out. If everything's good there, then we're going to back up to that battery. At some point, we're going to contact power and say, oh, we got power on this side. We got no power on this side. There's our open, if it's on the power side. Because it sounds like you've checked a lot of grounds.
More than most.
So,
like 9 more than most.
if you can go, if you're positive all the grounds are good, and you can go from the battery positive to a ground right next to the ignition switch, and you know you've got a good ground, well, then you're losing power. If that's always solid, if you've got 9 grounds and they're all good. But the power, if it seems like you're losing that, so we just go backwards, because we could have, I was doing this yesterday on a Ford. You start at the ignition switch and you just work your way backwards. You'll check that switch, and if there's nothing, you've got 2 hot wires coming into it, and if they're not hot, or only one of them's hot, then you got an open somewhere. Not real likely a mouse or any rodent's going to chew through a 10 gauge wire like that. They'll chew through the small ones pretty easily, but those big ones, they usually give up after they've gnawed a bunch of the coating off. But I think you're going to find an open somewhere. Probably a vehicle like this, probably one good place to look that I could think of. I might even start at the junction block where it goes to the firewall. You take those apart, and there's going to be some really thick black grease in there for weatherproofing, and often those terminals will start to melt right where they go through the 2 10-gauge wires where they run through that. They'll melt in there, and they won't make a good connection. You might even just press on it when the thing's dead and see if the power comes back. The wiggle test, they call it. Ford even has a name for it. They say, do the wiggle test and see if it works.
Does that help you out there, Jeff? Jeff, are you there? Oh, we lost Jeff.
I hope you listen.
Yeah,
He's watching.
he can
Oh,
he can come back to
yeah,
it too.
he can still hear us. If
Yep.
he's watching, he can.
He'll get back on it. But that I just wanted to know what happened with the mice. That's all.
Mhm.
That's all I wanted to get out of that
See
call.
if they're piled
We-
around
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yesterday, I walked. We had the doors open. It was warm, and I walked in to put the scanner in the box, and I looked down, and I thought there was a mouse on the ground, and I thought, yeah, it's a mouse. Who cares? Whatever. It'll run out. It ran in. Then I thought, wait a second. The mouse is laying there, and it looks like it's been flattened. And I thought, poor mouse. You know, the things that go through your head in a matter of a half a second.
Mhm.
And as I opened the drawer and I dropped the scanner in, this thing screams at me. And I went, whoa.
You did good little mouse teeth there and
Yeah.
everything.
And it wasn't a mouse. I have never seen a bat up close.
Oh, okay.
I've never
I
had
have.
one. I've never had one within 20 feet of me. And that thing was on the ground and looking up at me, eyes open and teeth in. And it's like, I didn't even think they could see. But apparently it knew I was there, but it didn't want to go anywhere. So we got the shovel, picked it up. They're like, let's beat it. I'm like, you can't beat a bat. You got to take it outside.
You
So
just throw it in the air, it'll fly away.
Well, it didn't. It
Oh.
wasn't doing real good. So it crawled up on the shovel and I carried it out in the field. And I was like, they eat mosquitoes. We get a lot of mosquitoes up there. And thing wouldn't go. So I finally tossed it out in the grass. I start walking away and then it wanted to fly.
The
Sure.
bat was playing possum.
Yeah, it got up and did a loop around me and went around and right into the wall of the building.
All right, Jeff's back. Does that help you out there, Jeff?
Well, so I have the wiring diagram. I've already verified power and ground to the WRM, the wireless remote module that controls the ignition under the dash.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one pinout between them, and I checked that connection too because he had a new engine in it a couple weeks ago, and they broke a few connectors.
Oh no. Well, where does the
So,
power end?
But
You know, it is. Do you have it up there
so
to the switch
power
module?
goes, yeah, it goes directly from a 20 amp fuse. It's hot all the time through one connector to the switch module.
But do you have power at the switch module?
Oh,
You said
yes,
you're
I
losing
have
power.
I used my back probe. I have power up there all the time, even when the ignition. The other thing is that I didn't even say, through all of this, ignition dead or not dead, no dinging, no gauges come on. Dead or not, I have no crank. And
Yeah.
I jumped out the relay. The relay's good, but I have a security light. So again,
Do
I
you
think that's
have
a separate issue.
power?
So I'm leaning toward that wireless remote module.
Well, those things are junk. I mean, if you have, you didn't say that we didn't have power there. So you have power there, even when you lose power, is what you're saying?
I do have, yes, and the OBD2 port and the wireless remote module
Then you
have power and ground when everything is dead.
then you have power. Yeah, you've got. That's what I say. We start at the key, we go all the way back, but if you've already got it up there, that's the only thing it can be because it goes into that. You turn it on, power comes out of it. So if you've got power coming in and you've got a good ground, that thing has to be bad. So many of those fail. They had recalls on those. They had problems with keys falling out. They had so many problems with those things. But got to put one in and have it programmed.
Jeff, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. That's some chasing there. And then once you find it, you have to figure it out again.
Those key things can be tricky. I just had a customer bring a car to me, and he mentioned they were having problems finding the keys. So the car showed up, and I said, well, where are the keys? Well, they said they're in the glove box. I opened the glove box, and here's the plastic, like the dealer valet key
Yep.
for the door only. It's plastic, and that's all it opens is the door. It won't start the car,
That was their key?
That's the key that the shop put in his car and said, oh, we found it. No, I need the fob with the immobilizer so I can start the car. It does absolutely no good. It's a Volkswagen.
Oh, jeez. Story
I
gets
said-
worse.
Well, if a shop has your car and it comes back without a key, it is their responsibility to get you a key. I don't care what it costs them. They got to get you a key.
Ethan, you're up next. We're going to talk to you after the break. We want to hear from you. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Make a radio appointment each week to hear the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. If you watch the show, you can watch it all the places you watch shows. Right? I mean,
Everywhere.
just about everywhere. And if you subscribe to our YouTube channel and join the Hoodie Fan Club at underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Ricky Fellows, congratulations from all of us here under the hood and our friends over at Universal Technical Institute, uti.edu, and Berkeley One Classics. They're celebrating 50 years of collector car insurance. Check them out today. Universal Technical Institute, so much changing in the automotive world, and there is a big opening for mechanics out there. So if you're thinking about it, if you're thinking that might be the trade for you, check them out, because that's the place we'd suggest. Universal Technical Institute, uti.edu.
All right, let's talk to Ethan. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Ethan, what can we do for you?
Hey guys, I have a 2020 Blazer Premier with a V6 engine in there, and I feel like I have an issue with maybe possibly some transmission issues when I'm driving at the lower miles, like you're driving through town, a lot of stopping and going and everything, and not getting up to higher miles. I feel like I get a hard shift, or even like it doesn't want to shift. I took it into the dealer. They took it out, drove it, looked it up, I guess, and they said, yeah, we didn't see any issues with it, and that was when it was still under warranty. So I felt like they would be like, yeah, there's something going on, we want the work or what. But they said there was nothing going on. So driving long distances with it on highway speeds, no problems at all. But it's when you're going through town, you're going those lower miles, probably 15 to 30 miles per hour, it seems like it shifts really hard.
That transmission, you said you had a V6 motor in front of it or a 4-cylinder?
V6.
Okay. I know they've updated things over the years, but just luck of the draw, my mom had a new Blazer with a V6, and right out of the box, she had a transmission problem. And it was doing some really harsh stops and clunky starts, and it ended up being a bit of time. They ended up replacing the transmission with a different one. But there was one, in that particular model, there was one piece inside on I remember it was like a lock ring or something that they found out wasn't holding from their factory assembly. And they knew what they needed to do, but they just couldn't get the tool to put the part in, if I remember right. So I think they ended up getting a completely different transmission. But that was it sounds like a very limited thing to happen. But there are some of these newer vehicles where we're seeing people having odd things. So in your mind, as you drive this, you're saying this just isn't normal. Or is it that you're just, how long have you had this vehicle? Like since it was brand new?
No, it had 30,000 miles on it when I drove it, or when I bought it and everything. And it seemed fine. I traded in a 2010 vehicle, and I know like newer vehicles are a lot more gear ratios in there. So I was like, okay, maybe it's just because I'm just not used to
Yeah,
that.
that's what I was wondering about, is if you had compared it to another one, or actually to say, this just isn't quite what I'm used to. But it sounds like you're leaning towards, hey, this thing's got a problem. So keep talking. I'm curious.
So yeah, so I drove it. I'm like, I just got to get used to it. I'm just not used to it. New vehicle, and I'm like, still to this day, I'm like, I'll drive it, go on a trip or whatever, go long distance, feel fine with it, and then I'll drive it going to work through town with a whole bunch of stuff, and it ends up being that I'm like, oh, there's got to be something just doesn't feel right with it, and I got a 2009 vehicle that I'm like, well, I like driving this one a lot better because I just don't feel like there's an issue when I'm driving through town.
Russ, what would you do if you had a customer and you were working with, and say we had just put a transmission in or something, and they were giving this sort of feedback to you? How would
I got to see the problem.
And that's the dealer, if they had that no codes, no nothing.
Because people will say all sorts of stuff. So, we know this isn't our customer, so we know he has a genuine problem. But a dealership that has this vehicle, or somebody that's got a warranty on it, they don't know what the customers are thinking. So,
yeah, that's a challenging situation. But you got no trouble codes have popped up. It's never not moved or had the RPMs peg up or anything, or flared is it flaring during shifts, or is it just chuggy, or can you describe the symptoms a little bit more?
Well, imagine if you're going from you're pulling up to a light, so you're slowing down. So
Okay.
you're feeling that shift down, and then the light turns green, and then so you can speed up
And it
everything. So you were
clunks.
slowing down, and then you hit that speed up, and it kind of just like it shifts, like it was like in the middle of shifting down, and then wants to shift back up because you're putting gas down or putting the pedal down to get going, and it shifts hard going back up. Or like you're slowing down, like all this construction that we got going on now and traffic. Again, you're driving up, you start slowing down, and then you get to that where you're driving at 10 miles, 15 miles per hour because traffic is horrible, and it just feels like almost like a clunk. It's constantly shifting in between two different gears. The only thing the guy told me at the dealership was, oh, well, you got a gear ratio that shifts between 25 to 30 miles per hour in there, and that's probably what you're constantly feeling. It's that, because that's where you're driving majority of the time. And I'm like, well, that was kind of a horrible design if you guys, because that's horrible feeling constantly sitting there feeling that.
There are some vehicles that get more complaints about transmissions than others, for sure, because of just the way they've got them programmed. I would be curious to see if did they mention during warranty if there was any software updates available or anything for the computers
No.
because I mean that is something that sometimes they learn once a vehicle out in the field that their calibrations weren't the best. But I think what you're going to have happen is I would probably go down and drive another one, find the same year, make sure it's got the same options, and just drive another one and see how that acts, and then pay close attention to you got a tachometer on there for the engine? To tell the RPMs of the engine to see how fast it's rotating?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, something where you can kind of drive yours and watch that tack really close and then maybe drive another one and just see if there's a used one for sale on the lot. And just, hey, can I take that out and drive and just see if this is the way this thing feels? Because it's hard for us to know for
Right.
sure. If without a trouble code or without it really, like Russ had given a super hard clunk or, that's the dealer. I can understand this being a troublesome conversation.
Ethan, good luck. Thanks very much for the call. That's a bummer. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Grant in Iowa. Grant, you're on the End of the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Morning, gentlemen. I got a question, or two-part question. The first part is on titles in South Dakota. I've recently been trying to buy a couple of college cars for my kids going off to college, and we were looking at one over by Lenox, and that's Turner County, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. It's a North Dakota plated car. He's living down here in Lenox right now. He's claiming that this is his mom's car, and she signed the title over to him, and he didn't realize that, so he went to go turn it into the county, get the title switched, and he's claiming to me that it's going to take 3 to 4 months because there's a new system in place. Are
You don't
you
want
aware of anything like that?
No,
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Okay, no. I there is something here. Our state right now, they passed a law in the legislature this year to move South Dakota to an electronic titling system in the very near future. It was passed through and pretty strong majority pushed through, signed by the governor. That has nothing to do with the current problem. They switched over to a new system in the middle for management of a lot of these departments, and it's the 605 driver, I believe is what it is.
Yeah.
And the changeover is, I'm believing they're putting barcodes on titles, and they're doing some different things that have disrupted our Department of Revenue's title processing quite a bit. And it is not unusual right now for someone to get told it's going to take 3 to 6 months to get a title.
They even completely shut it down for a few days.
Yeah, so there has been some retooling and some reshuffling that are causing a lot of heartache for people. My son-in-law was trying to get a title transferred out of his parents' name into his name where they're living in California to try to beat a deal to buy a car that was on an end-of-the-year special, and they didn't get the title. They were originally in normal circumstances, they would have got it in November, and it took until March to get the title.
But with this guy, when I say you don't want it, if this car was in his son's name and he was buying it, you're fine to buy it. even if it takes 6 months or a year, because it's in a family member's name. If
Oh,
you're buying
I
it from
see your point, Russ. Yes.
If you're ever getting a car from a stranger, unless they have a signed title in their hand that is 100% valid with a lien release if it needs one, I'm staying away from it because I don't know how it's going to turn out. What would happen is if, let's say this person was 100% legit and he's in the middle of this transfer and he dies, what do you do? You're in trouble. You'll never get a title for that car until somebody goes through whatever, and who knows. There are just so many things that can happen. So I tell people, because they come into my shop. I had one the other day that said, I want to put an engine in my car. Well, we don't have a title for it yet. We're waiting on it. It's coming from somebody else. I said, well, then you just pay me up front. And if it's too much, I'll give you some money back. If it's not enough, we'll be real close.
Kind of like filling the gas pump.
Couple $100. But I said, yeah, you're prepaying. They're like, well, why do I have to do that? I didn't have to do it last time. Because this isn't your car.
Mm-hmm.
And if it turns out that you can't get a title and you don't want to pay for it, you're still going to pay for the engine because you brought it to me. I'm not going to eat your problem. So I tell people, be careful with those titles.
I'm just going to go back and recap because Russ must have heard it. I didn't. So it has North Dakota plates on it. And the seller has a title in his hand he's showing you or not?
Unfortunately, I did not ask to see the title in hand that night. He said he had it.
Yeah, I would.
He said it was in his name. That's the thing. It's like
if the seller
really
and Russ, I'm right with him. If the seller can show you a title in their name or parent or so that either one of them can sign it, that's something that can be presented at the courthouse and get the process started by yourself after you buy it. But if that title is in someone else's name, is not in hand, has not been transferred, I would definitely consider that a problem. I would consider that a problem right now.
And still could be completely legit.
Right.
They're waiting for their parents to send the title. They can't find the title. I'm going to look this weekend. I'll take a look, and then time goes by.
When the departments are behind like this, it makes it a big challenge. Now, dealers, on the other hand, they have got some wiggle room to be able to say, yes, we've got this. And if they choose to proceed in selling a car without the title given to them, initially, that's a problem for them. But if they had a legitimate title turned into them at their dealership, they will often move forward with selling the car while the title work is still in process. And the dealers have a little bit of faster track through the state than a private party. But yeah, if you can't see a title that is in their name and held in their hand, I would be extremely nervous to do that transaction, even if it is 100% legit. I don't want to get people too scared, but I think Russ hits it right on the head.
The car has to be in your name to get insurance on it.
Yep.
I know with my agent, if I call them and say, hey, I need to get insurance on this new truck I just bought. All right, great. Hey, it came back. It's not in your name. What's up with that? Well, yeah, I'm waiting for title. Well, we can't insure it because you don't own the car. That's another thing to worry about.
Grant, did you have another question too?
Yeah, it's more of a philosophy question, kind of like what an old click and clack type question. How much money or value do you put on sentimental value? I got 1995 Scottsdale 3/4 ton, got the big 454 in it, but it's got a dead transmission. I talked to Jim's National Transmission, and they said without looking at it, it could have been anywhere from $400 to $4,000.
And they're not wrong.
Yeah. But it's up to you.
Yeah.
Sentimental value.
Russ deals with this a lot with people trying to put transmissions and engines and stuff in vehicles.
I have had people spend $10,000 on an old vehicle that was probably sellable for $4,000 to $5,000 at the time. They're probably worth more now, but that's what they were. The cars weren't horrible, but they wanted to fix it up. And I've seen those people come in later and they've had the cars painted. They've had all these things done. And then they tell me what it's worth. So I have learned to never tell somebody your car's a pile of crap. You don't need to put an engine in it. You should junk it. Because I've had...
Unless you see a legitimate safety concern.
I've had a grown man with tears in his eyes and said, well, this is my father's truck and he died last year and I really want to fix it. And I'm like, uh-oh.
That feels
Whoops.
great.
Whoops. I'll tell them, it needs a lot of work. It's going to cost a lot of money. I mean, you got to evaluate what you think the vehicle's worth, and then they'll tell me, well, it belonged to my father. He passed away, and I really want to fix it. Well, then it's worth more. I'll tell you what we can do it for, and we'll see if you want to fix it.
So to answer that question, I don't think there is an answer to that
There's
question.
no limit. It's up to you.
It's up to that individual person's attachment to that vehicle.
Yeah.
I mean, that's philosophically, we could have some fun with this and say, depends on how crazy you want to be or whatever would happen.
Right.
But it is truly a personal choice. I've got vehicles that I've chose to spend money on because I like that vehicle a lot, and it may not have made any sense. There's other times where I've chose to fix something because, well, I know what this expense is if I fix this. I don't know what the other expense is if I try to replace it.
Right.
And what I'm going to get. So I'm going to take the known commodity, even though it doesn't make a lot of sense right now. And that happens with property. That happens with vehicles. That happens with homes. It happens with a lot of different things. So it is truly up to you.
Grant, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Car feeling ill? Don't want to spread it to your wallet? Call the Motor Medics now for free advice.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Milo. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Milo, what can we do for you?
Hey, great show, guys.
Thank you.
Really love it. I got a 94 Chevrolet pickup. Kind of a rust bucket, but it runs good. I got a noise that sounds to me like it's in a heater compartment.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a door flopping back and forth. When I turn the key on, it'll start making noise. It'll run for about 30 seconds or so and quit. Everything seems to work all right, but that noise pretty loud.
That has an electronic control system. They started that in '88, and it has 3 electronic motors in there to run the doors. They're called blend door actuator motors. There's one for the recirculation, way up high there on the passenger side. There's one for the heater door, which you can access by opening the glove box door and pulling the 4 screws out, and it's right there on top. And then the other one's on the left side, right above your foot where the gas pedal is. It's going to be, on the passenger side, it's going to be either the heater motor one or the recirculation door. They can both be replaced fairly easily on that truck. But, the part, Dorman Products makes actuator motors for those. And I think they may even be starting to sell the kits now where they sell you all 3 for a vehicle. I've seen a couple of them out there, but this one is old enough it may just be the one individual. But you're going to spend probably, a blend door actuator will be anywhere from $30 to $60, $65, somewhere in that is what's average on these. We put a lot of them on. They're not hard to do. You could probably do it yourself if you can access it. You flip that door down, pull that little box out, and then there's 2 to 3 screws that hold them on, and 1 plug-in. No programming on this model vehicle.
What's going on with it doing it for 30 seconds and then working?
Well, it's not working.
Okay.
But it's making the noise for 30 seconds as it tries to work, and then the module, which is your buttons on the dash, it says, hey, I've tried to move this and I'm not seeing any feedback for this long, so just stop sending power out, because they know what the result is. The computer can't hear it clicking, but it knows it will click. It's programmed into it. It's clicking. It's not going anywhere. We're applying power and it's not doing anything.
So the noise is it trying to operate. It's just.
It's got plastic gears in it, and the teeth have worn out. Okay. All the years of moving that door that the cable used to move has now put a load on it and caused the teeth to wear, and they're pushing apart and they're skipping. You can't hold it there any longer. It's like a stripped bolt, and you're trying to hold that socket on it as tight as you can while you turn it. And if you're not pressing down on it, it just keeps jumping over. Mm-hmm. That's the way this thing is. A click, 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 click. But it's more of a click, 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 click.
That's a good description.
Yeah, it can't hold it tight, and it will push itself apart, and then it'll jump. Occasionally, it might jump enough that it moves the door and gets a good range of teeth, and then it moves. And
gotcha.
You can operate it from a quarter of the way towards hot all the way to hot and back all day long. But if you move it all to full cold, you're done. It's just stuck there.
Milo, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Mike. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Mike, what can we do for you?
I have a 2014 SRX 4 Cadillac, and when I go down the road, I hear no sound. But the second I let off of the accelerator, hear a sound up like in the front drive. And all you have to do is just barely touch the accelerator, so you're coasting, you don't hear it. There's a bearing going out in the front drive up there.
It's an all-wheel drive, you said, right? SRX4?
Yes, he did.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that you could have a problem with the rear drive shaft. We put a lot of drive
I
shafts
was
in
just
those.
thinking of that.
The hanger bearing
Just
goes
coming
bad,
to
but
the front,
it's
the
right.
sound.
It's right under the console area there. So if you give it a little gas, it could quit.
Okay.
That could be one of the things. Somebody needs to get in and drive this that has experience with bearing noise and things to see if because they might listen to it and go, no, it's not the drive shaft. It's something up front. And then there's more digging into it that's going to need to be done. It doesn't sound like a wheel bearing because that typically will go away when you turn left or right as you're going down the road straight. You just swerve left and right a little bit and it'll quit. But giving it throttle and letting off, that's going to either be in the differential inside of the transmission or in the transfer case, the power transfer unit, or in the drive shaft. But our most common failure on these cars is that drive shaft. We
Sell a lot of
rarely-
those drive shafts.
Yeah, it's rare. We put one in a couple days ago in an all-wheel drive car like that. Yesterday, I think. Yeah, yesterday. And then it's just something that fails. Those bearings fail. But it's a load issue.
Because that one uses the drive shaft setup, not the aluminum torque tube. I'm just trying to remember.
That one has a drive shaft in it with a hanger.
I think so.
On that year, I believe, because different years have different ones.
But if it is the exposed drive shaft with a hanger, that's definitely a place to look.
Does that help you out there, Mike? I think Mike's gone too. All right.
But on a lot of those drive shafts, we've got a couple different vendors that we stock those drive shafts for, and other people do too. So a lot of them are common enough to fail that there is readily available remanufactured units available.
And that is when you put the load on it, it's pulling on.
He's taking the load off. So when you let off, it's got a reverse load.
Yeah.
It's slowing the vehicle down, so it's braking like your Prius does. And that's got a load one way. And then when you give it gas and it puts the load the other clockwise instead of counterclockwise, it's moving the load a different direction. It's the same thing that's happening with swerving left to right with a wheel bearing down the road. You're loading one side of the bearing and then the other side of the bearing, and it makes noise one way, does not the other. Same way with that drive line. You give it some gas and it changes, or a pinion will do the same thing.
You know, as we close in, depending on when you're picking up the show here on Earth Day, there is a study that's just being released by our trade association. And it's kind of interesting. We've always talked about reusing parts being really good for the environment. Mm-hmm. We actually sent parts to a laboratory, Worcester Polytechnical Institute outside of Boston, and had them inspect parts. And we've just are going to start putting this press release out around Earth Day. But the study found, I'm just going to read one of the paragraphs from it, that using reclaimed auto parts significantly reduced harmful emissions compared to using newly manufactured parts. For example, researchers found that reusing a Toyota Camry engine avoids 710.82 kilograms of carbon dioxide emissions. To put that number into context, it's the equivalent of the carbon captured by 11 tree seedlings grown for a decade, or the energy needed to charge over 44,000 smartphones. And so we sent them, some of the parts came right here from Nordstrom's, and we sent them certain year ranges of parts, and they checked these parts. They broke them down into pieces. They found out where all the compositions of the materials were that made them, and did a full scientific study on them.
Interesting.
And so we're going to be putting out some more information from this. But as we approach Earth Day, or if Earth Day's just occurred, just remember that whatever you do, reuse is one of the best and most efficient, strongest ways to save and help the environment.
That'll do it for hour one. Hour two of the Under the Hood Show is coming up.
You're listening to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show with the Motor Medics, Shannon Nordstrom and Russ the Super Tech Evans. Shannon is an ASE engine and parts specialist, and Russ is an ASE Master Certified Technician with extensive factory drivability training. Join the Motor Medics for fun and free automotive advice with real-world solutions to everyday automotive problems. The Under the Hood Show is heard weekly on this and other great radio stations across the U.S. Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
With Russ Evans, this is Shannon Nordstrom, thanking you for tuning in to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show. Have a great day, and remember, PTLA.
The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining. I'm more gladder.
You're more gladder?
I'm more gladder.
Because now Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. It's been a while since we were all in the same room.
It's good to be all together. I'm excited about it.
Feels different. Feels
Just letting you know, I've never left.
Oh boy!
Can you hear producer Doug through the glass laughing in here?
And I thought he was good about it.
Yeah,
no, I'm fine.
We were going to hear about this for a long time.
I'm sad and lonely.
Okay.
Russ ran solo last week,
And
kicked
the
some
listeners-
butt with 20 callers. Now I came back, we only got 5.
Long callers.
Oh, no, they're there.
Yeah.
They just want to talk to us because they've actually got real people to talk. I'm not very conversational.
All right, I'll ask a quick one. Maybe they're calling to stop you. Let me
Every
talk
call,
for a minute.
I'd say go, and then I'd say you're done. Bye.
Let's go to Ohio and talk to Brian. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Brian, what can we do for you?
Hello, guys. Long-time listener. Love listening to the banner of you guys back and forth this morning. So, I have a '79 Trans Am. It has 74,000 miles on it. I've had it about 6 years, and as usual on these cars, they leak. The rear main seals leak, and I'm planning on within the next year of pulling the engine and replacing the rear main seal. I'm trying to keep it all stock because it is all original. So the original rope seals, I believe, is what they've used in them from the factory. I've seen some other ones that Felpro has that are not rope seals. I talked to a engine rebuilder performance place nearby, and they said if they replace the seal, they still can't guarantee that it will not leak. So I'm looking for a solution.
I'm kind of curious on whether or not, just because Russ and I both love Trans Ams, the 79 either had a 403 Olds or a 400 Pontiac motor. Which one does yours have?
It's the 403.
Okay.
It's going to leak.
Yep.
No matter what you do, it's probably going to leak. If it
Because
doesn't,
that was the one that Russ drove on the Power Tour, was a 403 Olds.
yeah, I'd say good for you if it doesn't leak. That's a bonus. You're probably your best chance is going to be like a Justice Brothers oil system stop leak. And how it stops leaks is by softening old seals, helping them to swell up a little bit and just become more pliable and stop that leak. I'd even put it in there if I put a seal in it, if I'm seeing any kind of leakage. They don't make anything for that engine other than a rope seal. They make a rope seal with rope. And those just leak. Imagine a rope. A rope leaks. Yep. It's porous. But they also make a neoprene rubber seal that's a 2-piece, and that is slipped in, and you make sure that the ends don't line up with the crankshaft. They've got to be, off.
Right.
And those still, when you put them in there, you have to if you stretch them too much, so that you imagine a circle, the seal, and you take your scissors and you cut it into 2 half moons there. When they go together around that crankshaft, the ends have to fit tightly against each other so they don't leak, which means you have to put the seal in perfectly. If you stretch it so the seals, each half is a little too long, then it's too thin around the edges and it'll leak somewhere around the shaft. If you don't have it pulled tight enough, then the ends are going to leak where they meet each other. It's really tricky.
Okay.
I had my motor rebuilt in mine, my 403 Ols, and Jerry Ross, he was machinist of the year in our area for a long time. He did the motor on it, and he did put the more modern seal in it, and we did get it to not leak. But the original one, I always had a wet bell housing.
The bottom of the bell
band.
housing hole always has a drip.
It always had a drip. It wasn't a lot, but he did get it. And he, like I said, he just was very meticulous about how he did those sort of things, and he did get it to not leak.
And the cranks walk in all these engines. They move forward and back, especially with miles. So they're just gonna have.
But if you're gonna rebuild are you gonna rebuild the engine or just kind of go through it, or what's your plans?
Probably, I'm on the fence whether to up the performance, and because I've been reading if you put 350 Olds heads on it from the 70s, it'll raise the compression. But then it just opens up. It runs really good right now, and I don't want to go away from the reliability.
I put a little bit of a cam in mine when I put it back together, and we left the original heads.
Yeah.
And I think he might have just flowed them a little bit and put a little more cam to it, and it ran pretty good. It wasn't a powerhouse. I have another one now that has a 400 in it, and everybody talks about the 400 being so much more powerful. It doesn't feel that much more peppy than the 403 with the cam in it. Truly, they're just. I didn't notice a huge difference.
Could drop a 5.3 in there that's stock, and it'll have more power.
Exactly. If you want to really do something, you can. But you want to keep it original. I understand.
If you've got time,
completely,
and you don't want to spend a whole lot, but you still want to try to seal this thing up, the best way to do that, I wouldn't pull the transmission and try to fix it. I would take the engine out of the car, put it on a stand upside down. Take the crankshaft loose and look at the bearings. If the bearings look pretty good yet, but they're not really worn, but they look pretty good, I'd put a new set of bearings in it. Just leave the crank the way it is, so you just freshen up the bearings because you've got it apart. Probably put a timing chain in it.
Definitely put a timing chain in it.
Because it's apart. If you want to do the bigger cam, go ahead. But if you're keeping it stock, just put a timing chain in it. Put a new oil pump in it. Just freshen it up. But this is the point where you've got the crank loose. You take the crankshaft out of the block and you put each half of the rope seal, that 2-piece neoprene now, on each side of it with the proper lubricant so you can set it in there perfectly. You know that you've got both halves lined up. You set them down in there so they're not meeting the block, and then you put your cap on. That's the way to get it lined up perfectly without pushing it in and trying to make it.
We got to do this quick.
Oh yeah,
we got to do this quick. I'm going to go against the grain and say that it's red.
Blue.
Oh, I'm going silver.
Nobody said black. I can't believe it.
Brian, what color is it?
It's red, Shannon. You're right.
What?
Mine red.
Oh man, Brian, thanks very much for the call. Wow.
Lucky guess.
Well, yeah.
Just had a sense by the way he talked about it.
It was on this show that I learned that a rope seal wasn't a style. It's rope.
It's rope.
It's rope. And you put it in the thing and it...
You just heard the Berkeley One Classics Guess the Color game that happens every once in a while when we feel it's worthy. Brought to you by our friends at Berkeley One Classics.
Did you?
No.
Come on.
No.
It's ironic. My Model T 1925 has a update for the oil seal to a one-piece, and his does, and a Trans Am does not.
Still does not.
Can't do it.
866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's go to Oklahoma and talk to Adam. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Adam, what can we do for you?
Well, good morning, gentlemen from the Sooner State. Just got a question about my 2013 Dodge Ram 1500. That's got the Hemi in it, and I just kind of curious about the tick. It doesn't sound like the normal Hemi tick that I'm accustomed to, but I just wanted to figure out what you guys' thoughts were on it, and maybe fish around some ideas for what the problem could be.
Can you make the noise?
Oh yeah, I can make it. It's more like you stick the tongue at the top of your mouth, roof of your mouth, and make a popping noise. Like, yeah, I mean, it's not
Cell phones.
It's more like an echoey kind of a teen, of a it's like a clunk, not like a clunk, but more like a pop, But sometimes with the motor when it's idling, sometimes it's loud, sometimes it's not. So I mean, it's got 140,000 miles on it.
Does it go away when it gets warmed up?
No, I wouldn't say it goes away when it warms up. And somebody was telling me something about the exhaust manifold and maybe the heat shield bolts being broke, but I haven't gotten to climb underneath there and check that out yet. But
Well, that's what you want. That's what you want it to be,
For sure, yeah.
which doesn't sound great.
Yeah.
But you definitely want it to be an exhaust leak, an exhaust heat shield that's expanding and contracting, crack bolts, broke bolts. Because
yes, sir.
but that'll usually go away once it warms up, to a certain extent.
If they're
I
really
got you.
bad,
Yeah,
they'll
Go ahead.
keep ticking. If it's really bad, they'll tick in the beginning and they'll continue to be that way. They might get a little quieter, but it also could be also
sometimes
lifter.
it's water.
Lifter
Lifter.
noise. You got to be, yeah. And usually when those are lifters, they don't just fail because they're dirty. They fail because of wear. There are, there's products you can put in that engine to try to help clean up the lifters. If it's a lifter that's starting to collapse, but it's the rams, they're more, you're looking at I think a mechanical wear. You got to isolate it to where it is first. You got to decide, is this exhaust? Hope and pray for that. Cross your fingers. But if it's not exhaust and it's inside the engine, I would pull the valve cover off. Driver's side is where we usually see the wear for whatever reason on that second cylinder back. But turn the engine until the rockers are have no load on them and wiggle them around and see if you got one that's got a lot more wear than another. At that point, you can pull the rod out and look at it, see if you see any wear on there, and you could replace it early enough in the game. You don't have this, try to avoid that issue. But they've got problems with them. It can happen. We're seeing a lot of the problems. We've talked about camshafts. If you've listened to the show before, we've talked about cams and the importance of, the change in oil and trying to prevent the problems. But there are things you can put in there to help with cam wear before it starts, not after it started.
Okay.
But the Justice Brothers products that have metal conditioners in them, the engine tune-up, the heavy-duty vehicle, it treats the metal and not the oil. That'll help. It's basically it's lubricating it. It's the same difference. It's as much of a difference as between a part that has no lubrication and then like an engine without oil and one that does. Now you're going from, hey, we got some oil on it, which really doesn't do anything for these lifters with the cheap metal, to now we're lubricated and we're protecting it. That always
I heard they
scares me.
changed. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, I heard they changed the material in 2018 and up, so that doesn't have that problem anymore. But man, I guess I'm about to pull that thing apart.
Whoa, no.
That's not completely true.
They have not. No, there's the material's still coming from the same country. The one that's got like a 200% gouge against them right now. Yeah, those guys.
And during COVID, supply shortages caused metal to get sourced from many different areas, and a lot of imperfect things were made that are needing to be perfect.
Yeah, they're yes, and so I've got a vehicle that's a 21, and I'm just waiting for that thing to explode any day. I mean, I'm waiting for a lifter problem because we've seen a lot of them. I hope I never do. I'm prepared, so maybe I'll get lucky and not, but I don't know. But we have customers' cars that are 24 models with cams that have failed in them. So they're still failing. I think you have a better chance with a 13 without a failure than some people out there with some newer vehicles.
But you would definitely, if you listen to it and it sounds like it's internal, try the
it hasn't
Justice
gotten any
Brothers,
worse.
Yeah, try the Justice Brother product. And do you ever see valve springs on those brake like you do on the GMs?
I've seen a couple,
but
they'll miss.
Yeah, they'll have a miss on them then. But if you open up that valve cover and you're inspecting things, look for that too.
And the miss on those when I've seen them broken is usually at high end. It's not at idle. It's like at 50 miles an hour and over. When the motor's getting wound up, it can't get enough air into the engine. It can't keep it closed like it should. It starts floating.
I've noticed too that if the engine cover, the plastic covers off, the lifter noise is really loud.
That's why they use that on a lot of. It's the injectors, direct injectors are so loud. They put those covers on with really thick insulation.
Insulate the noise.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people think there's something wrong with the engine.
It is 100% what we thought. It was like, it is really loud. Oh, it's because the covers in the
back of the Volkswagen.
Yeah, exactly. Adam, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Those heat shields can cause a lot of angst.
For sure.
It can sound like your car is coming apart any moment. And then I know I've had it 2 times where you've reached under there and gone, oh, it just was hitting the thing. So I used my thumb and bent it a little, and it never was an issue again. That can be a huge problem and scary when it's happening.
We have a number of people that have, just over the years, they've had noises, and the different noises that they make can be things you don't know for sure what they are.
That can really stink, I tell you what.
What's called? Oh, wait, hold
catalytic converters, like
back.
rotten eggs.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go back to Oklahoma and talk to Kenny. You're on the Under the Hood show. Kenny, what can we do for you?
Well, I've got it's a different kind of situation. I had a Tahoe that I used to haul my kids with when they did their motorcycle racing. I got 2 girls, kind of tomboys, and I had this Tahoe, and I just used it until the wheels fell off. And then when I couldn't fix the axles, the wheel bearings, I put a Ford 1-ton F350 rear end into the back of it, got the perches off, cleaned it up, and re-welded all the stuff that was on the old 10-bolt on the Ford Sterling rear end and mounted it back up. It looks factory. The body on my truck is messed up. It just got dents and dings on it and race dents and all kinds of stuff from just hauling to the races. I've got another nicer Tahoe that's 2 years older, but it's been garage kept. It's perfect. Can you tell me if the wiring harness under the dash, can I unplug parts of it and then replug the parts for the 4-wheel drive? Is that going to fit in that harness, or do I need to change that whole harness out?
I believe that you're going to be mostly the same between 97 and 99. I think in 95 was the change year that they went to 2 different electrical systems when they were switching over to that new generation in the Tahoe.
Yeah.
And then 96, you got the Vortec motor. 97, I think they had finished making some of those changes. I would look at the plugins at the base of your steering column and see if they're the same or not. That'd be a good place to start. And if they look the same, I think you're going to find that most of that is the same. Just check your base connectors where it comes through the bulkhead on the firewall and look at them. Yeah. I think you're going to be mostly the same.
The dash has got the little plugs in the dash where I can pop them out. I've already popped one of them out looking at it. And the switch for the 4-wheel drive is going to pop right in there. And then all you got to do is just get that harness and plug it in the backside of it on a couple pieces already. So that's why I was wondering, they wouldn't retool the whole factory just to change it up from 2 to 4-wheel drive, would they?
No,
that'd be too expensive.
No. It's another piece of the harness that I've got the same thing. And there's another piece of the harness. Mine's a manual shift on the floor, same body. And that old body style, and it has a plug-in for the 4-wheel drive down on the fuse box. It just plugs in there. It plugs into the transfer case. It plugs into a relay under the hood. It's a separate harness, but it's the same as the 2-wheel drive harness. The rest of it.
When we get them new, a lot of times now you're starting to see more specific harnesses because they can build for the assembly line in sequence, and so they can save money not having any more wires in than they need if there's less options. But we're starting to see more of them go back to harnesses that there's empty plugs waiting for stuff. So it's got to make some manufacturing sense to do it that way.
But there's programming. This old one, you just plug it in and it works.
Yep.
With a new one, you might be able to just plug it in like a heads-up display, but it's not going to work until the computers all know that has been added to the CAN bus. There's something else on the bus that doesn't belong here.
Kenny, thanks very much for the call. Good luck.
Get off the bus.
I'd just wrap it. If you just use a wrap, it'll cover up all the rust and stuff.
Very aggressive wrap.
Yeah, real tight. It's got to be real tight.
Like a cuddling wrap.
Yeah. 866-594-4150. Let's go to Texas and talk to Danny. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Danny, what can we do for you?
Hi, I got a 2006 Chevy Impala. I recently took off the throttle body to give it a clean because it was kind of sticking. And I put it back in, and like when I put it back in, it was just revving up, like I guess to like the speedometer will go up to like past the 1. So I've looked into it a little bit. Found out that I had to do a reset on it with the scanner, and now I cleaned it out again, put it back in. I bought a scanner, tried to do it on my own, and did the scan, and now like put it back in, did the scan, and it doesn't go anywhere. So I just press the gas and it revs up. It's not. I guess it threw it all off.
Yeah, it sounds like you might have, when you took that off to clean it, the seals aren't really tight in there, and if you spray those to clean them and they're not sitting up level on the car, you can get cleaner down inside of the unit, and it can damage it. It wouldn't feel too bad though, because we see tons of those that just fail on their own. That's why you got to take them off and try to clean them. But we try to clean them on the car, so try to prevent some of that from getting down in there and getting into the electronics. You're probably going to need another throttle body. You shouldn't have to really do a lot of relearning. On that model car, you should be able to just bolt it on, start it up, and it goes. I know Dorman Products, one of our partners, carries a line of those. That is something you could get from O'Reilly or wherever you want to go for a parts store.
And since he's doing it, how much are we looking at?
It's pretty quick to do, and I think a throttle body's less than $200 for one of those.
And
Just
you
have to
could
do some looking.
And you could go to if you have a local self-service yard.
Sure.
You could grab another one, and your odds are that it's probably going to work and get you going again, and it wouldn't cost you much money at all.
Yeah.
Danny, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you.
Prepare to learn something. You're going under the hood.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. You can also watch the show on our YouTube channel, amongst other places. And if you subscribe to the YouTube channel and join the Hoodie Fan Club at underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Sean Scott, congratulations from everybody over at Berkeley One Classics, celebrating 50 years of collector car coverage, and Universal Technical Institute. Find them at uti.edu.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Jim. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Jim, what can we do for you?
Yeah, I got a 2012 Silverado with a 5.3. When I go to start it, it's sputtering before it'll fire up. It always starts, but it's not doing. I used to just touch the key and it was running. It's like it isn't first start of the day.
If the fuel pump's getting weak in it, it could do that. You could try to cycle that key a few times before you start the vehicle. Turn it on a couple seconds, turn it off a couple seconds, turn it back on for a couple seconds. And
That'd be the low-hanging fruit.
See if it starts. If it doesn't, it might have a cam sensor starting to fail in that. And if it does have a cam sensor failing, it's got to go around a couple times before it can decide what cycle it's on and fire up. That's pretty common on those. And usually you can't just put a sensor in it. You've got to take the front end completely apart and pull the cover off to get the old sensor out.
No.
Because they swell up on the end and they freeze in the cover.
What were you starting to say there?
Your sensor is what acts up.
It can be the crankshaft, the camshaft possession sensor, but it could also be that fuel pump. You could verify that fuel pump. Just turning the cycle and the key a few times will tell you if it's fuel related or not. If that doesn't do any good, then it's going to be something further in. You've got to do some scanning with a handheld scanner, like finding out if it's a crank sensor, cam sensor, something like that going on. It could be more than a fuel pump. It could be an injector leaking down too. There are tests that are involved once you verify cycling that key makes it fire up every time.
Have you tried any different fuel in the last since it was doing this? Have you changed gas stations or anything?
I went
or
to Chippewa. I took it on a 300-mile trip just to buy a gas grill, and I was coming back through Minneapolis through the rain, really hard rain, and the truck went. I lost everything, and then it came back.
Oh, so you lost power?
The dash went.
Okay.
Yeah, I lost power, and then everything came back, and now this issue started acting up this week. That's been about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, if that happened after this, that's a little more information that's important. That's somebody's going to have to just diagnose it and see what's going on. It's a fuel pump won't fail because of water like that.
But
they could be unrelated.
Right.
Other things could happen. Yeah, we've had people say, "Oh, I just filled up with a car with gas. I must have got bad gas." No, you got a bad fuel pump, and it just happened to go out when you turned the car off at that point.
And the reason I asked about the fuel is if you'd gotten a different alcohol content, sometimes the vehicle doesn't adjust well, and they'll crank a little bit before they fire.
And a scanner would tell you that.
Yeah, that we can see all that. Any check engine lights on now, or did everything, once it came back to life, stay clear, or have you got a light on?
No light. Everything works good.
Yeah, they're going to have to analyze with some more data, but I'm going to repeat what Russ said just to make sure you just take the time. If you know when it does this, don't just write yourself a note, stick it on the steering wheel. That's what I'd have to do. Don't start without priming the switch first or cycling the switch.
Right.
So just on for 15 seconds with the fuel pump, shut it off. Do that, 2-3 times. And then if you actually crank it and it starts right away, it's probably as simple as a fuel pump.
15 seconds is a really long time.
Well, I'm throwing a number out.
I know.
Too.
I'm just
2.
Yeah, right. I mean, 5. Let's go 5.
Yeah, I was
being
too dramatic.
We just had a conversation about that recently where someone said they don't trust traffic coming the other way, so they always wait 15 seconds after the light turns green. And I was
15
like,
seconds is a long time. I just didn't want to make sure he didn't go click, 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 click.
Right.
You just you got to let it cycle a bit. You hear the pump. You usually go just.
Yeah, and if you don't,
you haven't done long enough.
Jim, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Gary. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Gary, what can we do for you?
I have a question about buying a different vehicle. What in the years maybe to stay away from? I right now I have a 2004 GMC Sierra. Runs great, 137,000 on it, but it's rusting extremely bad. And I'm looking at a 2018 GMC with a 5.3, or there's a couple of 22 F-150s with a 5.0 engines, with four-wheel drive. I was wondering if there's years that I should stay away from.
You're kind of putting us under the gun here with this question. We don't. I always get squeamish when I answer questions like this because we see the history at our salvage yard, our recycling center, of what's worse, what we sell the most of, and that's not always relative to the percentage of breakdowns because of the number that are sold of certain vehicles compared to others.
Just look it up on the internet, Gary. I'm sure you'll find
opinions. Because when I hear about a 2018 GMC, the 5.3s, as a rule, are pretty solid. There's a lot of them out there. They're running down the road just fine. A few transmission problems you hear about more than anything, more than the motor in those. So you just want to make sure that thing has been well maintained, well serviced, good records that you can prove on the oil changes is very important, that you can tell that they've had a consistent service history. And the use of the vehicle would be great if you knew the use of the vehicle to know that it had some regular driving done and it wasn't just popping around town on short drives. That always helps anything. But then you get into the Ford, and I would say that in my opinion, from what we see, the 5-liter would have less occurrence of failure than the 5.3s. Russ, would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure.
But I think they're both really good trucks, and you have the potential for a good success with either one of them if you've got a well-maintained vehicle you can put your finger on.
If you're that's what I was just going to come back to. If you're unsure of do you default to the 3-year-old vehicle over the 8-year-old vehicle?
If the price is similar, I'd probably default to the newer one.
Okay. Does that help you out there, Gary, at all?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Appreciate your information.
Thanks very much for the call. Yeah, that's the age-old question, isn't it? I mean, that is about...
Well, the 18 GMC is new enough. You're getting into that newer generation with the LT1 engine. You've got a heavier load capacity on the truck. You know, it's not a 1500. It's not a half ton. It's a 1500 series truck.
Right.
It probably has a tow capacity between 7,000 or 6,500 and 11,000 pounds, depending on how it was equipped from the factory. And the Ford that he's looking at with a V8 in it also is with a 5-liter in it, it's probably a 7,500 to $11,000 pound GVW. And so I think that either one of them trucks is going to serve him well, but I definitely would want to know a bit about where its history was.
866-594-4150. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show. Craig, you're up next. Stand by.
Be sure to visit our website for news, contests, and previous shows at underthehoodshow.com. Welcome back, everybody. It's time to get back under the hood with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Craig. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Craig, what can we do for you?
Hey, guys. Love your show.
Thanks.
Hey, got a question. A friend of mine had bought an older grain truck. It's a 1970. It's got the 872 Detroit. And we're just curious on that two-stroke Detroit, what kind of fuel additive should we be putting in there? Okay, it's hard finding something that says something for the two-stroke.
Well, it's the same thing. I mean, it's still all mechanical pump in there. You can on that pump, you just want to put in a diesel additive in the pump. The Hot Shot Secret diesel additive would work really well in order to protect that pump. It's so basically anybody that has any diesel truck, you should be putting in an additive at every single tankful, not just here and there, but every single tankful, and quality fuel to protect the pump and the injectors, no matter what you got, whether it's a newer electronic one or an older one like this. Two-stroke or four-stroke won't matter in this model vehicle. Even if you had an old mechanically injected Mercedes or something, still, an additive in there. Look for the Hot Shot Secret additive. I mean, you'll be able to find that pretty much anywhere you look on the shelf that sells that kind of stuff.
Like at our business, we have our fuel delivered with an additive built right into it, but the fuel quality is an issue when you're jumping between areas. The inconsistencies in diesel fuel quality is a real issue. And so that's why the additives are important, to make sure you keep the lubricity and what's the word? Stiction? Or no, that's, whatever it might happen to be. I might be conflating some terms here.
That's a different.
That's a gasoline thing.
Yeah.
But,
no, it's a diesel thing too. Anytime you have, burnt, caked on oil, you get that stiction. And that's why Hot Shot Secret has a stiction eliminator to remove that and smooth it out. But yeah, you've got to boost the cetane. You got to have a cetane booster in there. That's part of that. And the lubricity additive. I mean, those are things that are important if you have a diesel vehicle. They're just won't last.
I was just curious if there was something more special for the two-stroke than it is for the four-stroke as far as for the lubrication part.
No, just earplugs. You need those.
Well, and let's be real here. It's a 1971, and it's still working great, I'm assuming.
Yep.
I think that there was a part of that thing's life that it didn't see anything other than what was available.
Right.
And so anything you do is going to help. And it's going to probably live a long time. Those things they seem to die.
Craig, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. All right, and all the stuff you were doing, we talked a little bit about it, the AI coming into your industry and things. What else caught your attention while you were out?
Well, I think that it was hard not to get excited when you hear about the opportunities for AI. I got to tell a funny story, and because I got a kick out of it. The first thing a lot of people thought of with AI was that it would be like your automated agents to be able to take phone calls and get people to the right place with their parts. And
a lot of it is just what has been going on for
a bit.
Yeah.
And so one of my friends in the industry is really a techie. He likes the tech stuff, and he's been engaging, and he created an automated agent to let customers easily get a duplicate invoice at one of the extensions, and tried to give it some real narrow guardrails is how he described it to me. Or else next thing you know, he had one that was talking to somebody about their Xanax prescription.
Sure.
And it was just funny to say that, but he created an AI agent. When certain salespeople will call, he would say, let me get to the person that'll help you with that. And he sends them to an AI agent that's been instructed to waste as much of their time as he can. and he plays these back for entertainment.
No way.
Yes.
Oh.
And he said the longest so far is 15 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And then the person that was actively and aggressively trying to sell was like, is this a robot? Click.
That's pretty great.
I thought that was a bad use, but an extremely
Yes.
hilarious
Yes.
use of AI.
It's bad. Don't do it, but still.
Somebody that's got enough time on their hands to do that, I was very proud of them.
Could be a crazy way to disrupt industry without, like a back doorway. If you programmed bots to call like a repair shop to get quotes all day long,
Don't
this
say
out
that.
loud.
Yeah, I was just
or anywhere. Well, you think if I can think it up, nobody else can? I mean, they could do that for any industry. They could just call all day long. Oh, look at all the junk we have now. At least we know what it is. It's like, hello, I would talk to you about selling you something. Bye. But with the bot, it's like, hey, I've got a 2014 Volkswagen. I'd like to get a quote. Can you help me? Sure. And it would know all the answers. And you're like, and then you'd catch on. Or it'd say, I have an F150. Can you help me? Bye.
Probably the most intriguing stuff, though, in all seriousness, with the AI was getting into data analysis and things that we do on a regular basis to make decisions about what to stock in a warehouse versus what to pull off a car, and just that kind of stuff that could be sent into a learning mechanism to teach and learn things that it takes a pretty skilled human to know, and we could let those people focus more on inspections than the monotonous tasks that get involved is encouraging. Probably the biggest leap that I saw was a company that was already putting software out there. They didn't have a working demo, but they had screenshots to be able to take. And when there's 500 vehicles for sale at an auction right now, we have software right now that's programmatic, or however you want to say it. But it's more of a one-to-one type of thing, and it will use our data against a human that visualizes what parts might be good by the pictures that they see, and then can work it down to give you a score on the vehicles to decide which ones to pay attention to, and then actually formulate that into a bid based on the overhead in your business.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they are looking at AI to just kind of blow that whole thing up.
Right.
To say, we're going to look at the images with AI. We're going to decide which parts are good with AI. Then we're going to bounce it against your inventory with AI. And we're going to actually formulate the bid based on all those things and just plop it right out to you. And then
just be there.
And then the humans would decide if that was the right number or not, and actually place the bids at the auctions. So there's a revolution of that kind of stuff that sounds like some people are already doing that, and it will be limited by the ability of the images that they have available from the auction houses.
Which won't be limited for very long.
No, they've got great images in some cases. In other cases, they're absolutely terrible.
And like you said there, then the person decides whether to set that will eventually probably go away too.
Yeah, because our buyer, Chad, spends countless hours previewing, viewing, looking, deciding, scoring. That all comes up automated through our software. It was great software we have called Bid Buddy from a friend of mine, Mike Lambert, and his company. But you still have the human at the end of it that has to. I don't know that would ever be ready to turn a AI bot over with my checkbook.
Yes, you would. Yeah, you will. Yeah, you will. You brought in
Maybe.
computers, and that was untested at the time.
They don't have bank signature records, and all these auction houses right now are set up with you don't buy unless you allow ACH back and forth. I'm There's
For
got to be
2 more
There's
years.
got to be guardrails there somewhere.
2 years, I predict.
Yeah, you could be right.
Chad, time's coming.
No, I don't think so.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Steve. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Steve, what can we do for you?
Hi, guys. Got 2 questions. I got 4 battery tenders I put on my cars, and then each week I try and leave it on there a week and then move them. Am I doing myself justice, moving them back and forth?
No.
Why?
You only need one.
No,
kidding.
you
I
need
know.
one for each vehicle.
I know.
What you do have modern battery tenders that are solid state devices, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, you're not hurting anything.
You leave them on. You can put them on 100% of the time you're not driving, and it would
I'm
be
not
okay.
focused enough to do that.
Well, he's talking about putting it on one vehicle for a little bit, on another vehicle for a little bit, another vehicle for
Yeah,
a
I
little
know. I would have if I was at a rotation sequence, I would never remember to do it.
Just they're inexpensive. Buy some more. Like for me, I have several.
Go down the line.
Yeah. I've got a couple good ones. I've got like the DS400 from Optima, which is a super nice battery maintainer, analyzer, charger. It does everything. And I mean, that's the way to go, to have at least one for doing that. But then the rest of them, you can have just a maintainer, because that way you can check the batteries and charge them as you need to. But for maintaining, you can get yourself a $25 cheap maintainer. Just plug them in. You don't have to mess with them.
There could be situations where you end up with, do I have enough outlets to plug them all in?
Mm-hmm.
How big of a Christmas light display do I have to do to put these things plugged in where you could be limited, but they don't draw a lot of power.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you could daisy chain a number of them off an extension cord and probably not have a problem. I know I got 3 in off one circuit where my snowmobiles are at.
Well, I think they draw, if you look at them, they're like 1.5 amps. It's not a lot. You could put like 15 of them together pretty easily.
Just with a power strip
on a 20
yeah.
amp circuit.
Yeah.
They're not much at all.
So and modern battery tenders, you can plug in and leave on 100% of the time you're not driving it. You don't need to, but you don't have to, if you are switching out and so I have one that I think I got on sale for $12, and it's a well-known brand. It's just the lowest model, and it works great. And you can just plug it in and forget it for a long time, right? I mean, those are.
So are you limited on plugins, or just because you wanted to do it that way and wondered if it was hurting anything?
No, I got enough plugins. I just put it on 4 cars and then wait a week, put it on 4 more cars, and then just go down the line.
You sound like you have plenty of cars, so yeah, maybe that it's not hurting anything, to answer your question. But it'd be better to just keep them on a constant float with the battery tender on each one of them, and just maybe make the investment each year and a few more.
You might have like 50 cars. Sounds like there's a lot there.
Yeah.
How
many cars have we got going on here? Now I'm curious.
I can't say because my wife's listening, but I'm your neighbor, Shannon, so you know how many cars I got, but I'm not going to say.
I still got to bring your hoodie up. I got a note on my desk to bring you I'm not going to say the size out loud, but an Ulrich size hoodie. And so I got to bring that up. I'll get that done sooner once my schedule straightens out. I've got the note on my desk to bring it to you in person. Now that I know who I got on the phone.
I'm not going to say that is.
Yeah. But see, she can come over there and look.
Yeah,
this isn't a secret.
Doesn't have to. Shush. You just gave. That's like him saying we can get AI to disrupt service calls. Don't tell her that. Don't tell people that. You guys, we're a club here. We're trying to be good to each other. Steve, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. Let's go to Texas. See if we can fit this one in before we're done here. We got just a couple minutes left. Brian, go ahead.
Hi, I have a 1982 Datsun 280ZX that I'm working on with my teenage son. We're figuring out how to work on cars as we go. And it was sitting for a bit as we were waiting to change some belts, and then we got that all fixed, and he took it to strict, for a drive, and the brakes were totally out. So it must have happened while it was sitting there for not that long. But anyways, the reservoir is empty, and I'm just wondering what I need to do. Do we need to bleed the brakes? Do I need to go for the master cylinder? I don't know. I don't really think about brakes. So.
That's all a basic mechanical car without ABS, so you should be able to just, first thing I'd do would be to try to bleed the brakes and then pump that pedal good and solid and keep your foot on it and look and see if you see any leaks. If there's any leaks anywhere, I'd rebuild it because of the age. Even now, without any leaks, I'd still rebuild that. You can buy the wheel cylinders and the calipers and the master cylinder, everything way cheaper than you probably think. Put it all on, new pads and rotors, bleed the brakes, and let her go.
All right, quick color. Just a second. Brian.
Gold.
Gold?
Silver.
I'm going blue. Brian, what color is it?
It's kind of a coppery gold brown.
Gold.
Yeah. 2+2 or is it a 2-seater?
2-seater.
Yeah, those are coming back. We started seeing that down at Barrett Jackson. They're really starting to come back strong.
If you don't just do all the brakes now and they're pretty cheap, you're looking for a failure in the future, like a sudden quick failure. So I would do it from the age.
That'll do it for hour 2 of the Under the Hood show. We're going to take a couple more calls on the after show. You can watch our show on our YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us for the Under the Hood show. All right, this is the after show. We've got at least one call coming in. You got a couple minutes here. We'll discuss a few things here. Let's start. Let's talk to Jim. You're on the Under the Hood show. Jim, what can we do for you?
Yeah, I've got a 97 GMC Suburban. Started to get cold air come underneath the glove box. Up and behind the glove box, cold air comes in. And I don't know if it's a blend door. I mean, it switches from vent to floor to defrost. The heat switches on and off to cold to hot, but I'm getting cold air underneath the glove box.
And, of course, this is an issue because you don't sit over there.
Oh.
No.
Right? I mean, if you didn't have someone sitting over there, you might not even know.
Nope.
You know, this was a problem with these trucks. A few of them had it, and it was an issue with the sealing of the cowl up front, and then you'll get some leaks in there too from water. That box doesn't seal good to the cowl, and the air passes right in through it into the inside. You find your floor gets wet when it rains too. That might be coming next, but
at a car wash even.
Okay, there you go. Then your cowl it's not sealing up, so they're probably going to pull the air box, regasket it, or pull the plastic cowl out under the hood area and caulk around the outside.
Try to do it from the external side of things. Has it
where
always done this?
No, we just started this winter.
Well, they'll crack as they get old. So, when I took mine apart and put a heater core in it and an evap core, I put a new seal on the inside and I also sealed the outside of it. And I didn't have a problem before I took it apart, but
is there any try this first quick?
Send a mouse in there with a caulk gun?
Yeah,
that'll do it.
There's not much to...
That'd be a little tiny... That'd be fun to see a small mouse.
You should start training mice to do that. Run wires and stuff.
Have tasks.
Yeah.
Once they figure out the AI, they're doing the AI with the humans with the Neuralink.
Neuralink right
we'll
in
put
there.
the Neuralink in the mouse, and we'll just tell the mouse. The mouse will be like,
"All right,
dude, why do you think I eat the stuff? You don't feed me enough."
What if the blend door was broken for the fresh air to recirculate door?
Nope. Because that
Does that not still go through the heater core?
It goes through there to the inside, but see, it's open all the time until it's open until you put it in the recirculation mode. So you're still heat that air. If you can't heat the air coming in and it's blowing in cold, it is a problem with it.
Jim, I do have some good news for you. If you can have her put it off for like 2-3 weeks, you can put it off for 6 months. Right? I mean, but it
might be hot air now, though.
But this area is coming in down by the feet area and stuff. It's kind of from underneath there, or is it coming through the vents?
It'll come behind the dash.
Behind the dash, behind the glove box.
Yeah, there's and it's big job, or if I brought it to you, is it you just gave me the look.
He gave the big job look.
I won't do this.
No,
send to a body shop.
I'm just saying. For Jim's purposes, I don't want.
If he gets it done somewhere, they'll get him, probably 3 hours to do it.
But you're saying if they can do it from the outside and seal it up without having to take the heater box out.
Right.
Yeah.
Jim, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. Ooh, that's a good question. Let's, Doug, I'm going to shut this part down over here. What job do you hate to do, but you do because you gotta do it, and it's just, you hate it. Do you know what I mean? I have tasks at work that I don't want to do, and I want to be able to say I can't, but you gotta just do some of the stuff you don't like.
I just do it. There's just jobs we do. There's some that we just don't do any longer.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody will call you and say, "Hey, my brakes are working okay, but they just need a little bit of this and that." And the car's like, it's a truck and it's 30 years old and it's rusty, and you're like, "No, I don't want to do that." Well, who's going to do it? It's like, I don't care, but it's not going to be me. Well, 3 other shops told me no too.
Like
There's
some
a reason
models.
they told you no.
Yeah.
When you get an older car, you think it should be cheaper to repair. A lot of times it can be more to repair because all the rust and stuff that you just can't. You touch one thing and everything else is rusted, and you don't want to go making one repair. Oh, it's just one brake line leaking in the back. Sure. But now what if we replace that one line and do a really good job, and now the front one blows out? Well, you worked on it. How come you didn't do that? You didn't want to do it. And then they quickly forget that they didn't want to do it when it's 6 months later, and now the brake, well, it failed again. That line must have gone out again. You really think that the new line we put on has failed and the rest of that rusty crap system is not out yet? Well, it is dripping from the line you put on. Oh, whoops. Sorry. There's that. So yeah, there's certain things that we just don't do,
what common procedure that you guys do all the time do you hate the most?
I get one of the things that I don't like doing, anything that's got a lot of grease involved in it, like where it's running down your arms. Transmission flushes, getting those darn things connected. You got to pull the old ones off. They're in a tight area. There's no way to catch it. It's going to run down your arms. It's going to get all over the car. You got to clean it off good, or they're going to call you and say it's dripping, and it's not dripping. It just happens to be in the frame. A little bit of residue you can't get to. Those can be rough to do. So, you just got to decide, or working on your car. I mean,
couldn't
whatever
do that.
it is.
I couldn't do that. I can't do your job ever. I mean, not only can I not do it, I'm not smart, but
you came in hard with that comment after he talked about the oil running down his arm.
Yeah.
Hardest doesn't work for you?
Mm-mm.
The hardest part of us as a shop, and thankfully we have so many repeat customers and people that listen to this show that they trust us, and you could tell them anything you want and they just believe it and do it. The hardest part is when you're so honest with a customer, there's nothing else that could possibly, it's like when they come in and the tire has literally shredded off the car and it's fallen off, and you say, "You need a new tire. Your tire is bad." And they still look at you and go, "Are you sure? Can't we patch that one? Can't we put some duct tape on it or something?" Or they just don't get it. Like, "Well, I'm not a car person, but I think maybe we could do something." Like, "No, your tire, look, it's not even on the car anymore. It can't." Sometimes, or no. I got it. Out of all those, now I got you one because it just hit me.
I can't even think about that.
Okay. I would rather have transmission fluid in my hair and down my arms all day long compared to the customers that they drop off their car and then they call you every day and say, "Is my car done yet? Is my car done yet? Is my car done yet?" Well, I'm just checking to make sure because I didn't want it to sit there. It was done. It's like, do you think that I would just let it sit here and not call you if it was done? I want your money. I want it out of here so I have the room, and I want your money. And every time you call me, I have to leave the car I'm working on, answer the phone, talk to you, and stop working on, your car.
Russ,
So-
I think I have an answer that you didn't give.
Which one? Is there a worse one that I got? I probably do somewhere.
Super stinky, dirty car you have to work inside of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I haven't had yesterday I was in one. I had to test drive, and that was bad enough. They're looking for a detail shop for it, but it's got dog in it. All the windows are covered in dog licking the windows.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I worked on it as bad. Cigarette smoke is got to be one of the top ones, but rotten food is also
all in the same category.
Yeah. Once every 3 or 4 months, we have a car come in that's so bad we cannot leave the windows open in the shop, and it still smells because the cigarette smoke is so heavy or the rotten food is so heavy. I had a guy come in.
We refused service on vehicles before because of this.
Well, I had a guy come in with 3 rotten deer carcasses in the back of the truck. They were frozen
at the time.
Yeah. So we pulled the truck in on a Friday night, and I came in Monday morning and I went, what is going on in here? And I'm walking around, and there's blood running across my floor from the back of this
I
truck.
was glad it was a deer carcass when you opened up the back.
And the truck was in to do brakes on it, so we had to get underneath, to replace brake lines. So I said, just pull it outside, clean the floor off, and we did. And I called him and I said, you're gonna have to take it. Well, I don't have any place to put them right now. I said, just come get the truck and figure it out. They never came back. But we did have a car. It was the guy I had told you about this, Shannon. He was a cook for a place we don't go to eat anymore. It used to be the place.
It'll come to me here.
Earth Day, we have things like we do ditch cleanup. Nordstrom's does this. One of the things they're proud of. They do it every year.
Coming
They've
up
been doing it for
Tuesday.
decades. So afterwards, they'll take everybody to Pizza Ranch and they'll go eat. Pizza Ranch, good place to eat, guys. But there's another place they used to go to, and that's been a number of years. Their cook brought in a car. This car
I don't
was
like the way any of this is going.
2 years old, and the blower was out for the heater, but it was over the miles. It was out of warranty. So we wanted to just put a blower in it. This car was full of like raw food, flies, maggots. I opened the door. This is like a 90-degree summer day, and I went, whoa, and I closed the door. Mitch came over from across the street. He wanted his air charged on his semi, and I said, hey, dude, I dare you to go out to that new car. Just open the door and stick your head in it and close the door. He's like, why? What's going on? I said, just look inside of it.
I don't.
And I got him because he did. He looked inside. So he walks out there and he opens the door. And he went, I thought he was going to pass out. It was so bad. So I called the guy and I didn't know what to say. I mean, do you want to say your car stinks so bad you need to clean it up? I just said, hey, you know what? It looks like a car I can't get a part for. You might want to take it over to. And I mentioned a shop that I really don't like at all. And they're out of business now. But I said, you should take it there. I'm sure they can take care of it.
They
for
died
you.
from asphyxiation.
I don't even want this job anymore after hearing about the transmission fluid and the stinky cars. I don't even want to talk to you on the radio about those anymore.
I mean, we get so much stuff that come. I mean, it's just part of the job. It's customer service job. Anytime you work in retail, you're going to get some crazy stuff. I worked it with car radios. We were doing car stereos, and we would have people. You got to put amplifiers in, and they go under seats, and wires go under, and they'd come in with boxes of McDonald's on the floor, and you're like, "Can you clean your car first?" One of the guys, I told him, "You need to take this and go clean it before I work on it." And he was a pretty dirty guy, and he was a kid, teenager, and I thought, he's never going to grow out of this. He's one of our good customers now, comes in all the time, super clean car, super nice guy, and he's all cleaned up. He just got older and decided, I'm going to be cleaner. But he'll still remind me now that, you remember that one time you had me go clean my car before I put an amp in it?
That might be.
I do.
That might be one of the fundamental parts of my life. The very first car that I owned on my own was a new car. So I had all the reasons in the world to keep it mostly clean.
Incentivized.
Yeah. And that's kind of, it's not hold completely true because when you get kids and stuff, but yeah,
Those are the worst.
I could totally.
They all got the same smell.
16, 17 years old, if I'd had a crappy car, I did, but
you might have got some
it was
bad
my
habits.
mom's at the time. Yeah. Yeah. I think that has, that helped out.
We got off on a tangent here
This
pretty
is
good.
the worst.
Yeah,
I am super sorry I brought it up. 'Cause I don't like any of this conversation.
We had a guy we didn't like way
I don't
back at
wanna
Ford
hear it.
years ago, and
Don't wanna hear
we
it.
picked up a dead skunk off the side of the road and put in the bottom drawer of his toolbox. And
That is next level.
it was
mean.
Memorial Day weekend, and
That is
we forgot about
That's next level, like insane mean.
Came in Tuesday morning and went, "What is that smell?" And Rick's walking around the shop going, what is, oh, and the guy it was that did it, he came in, he opened up the drawer and went,
I had a
grabbed
friend,
it, walked outside with it like it was nothing.
I had a friend who we were all hanging out, and as a joke, he put a fish in the acquaintance's car, and it was, all of us learned a very valuable lesson. That's not cool.
Not a good idea.
No,
Don't do things like that.
Real bad, and it was winter, so it
pick another prank.
It lasted for it took months and it was the end of that car. That's how bad it was.
Oh,
and that was a valuable lesson to learn too. It wasn't funny, and it was bad.
Yeah, that stuff.
And I had nothing to do with it.
We've had cars come in here that were totaled because of smells.
We've seen things.
You hit somebody hits a skunk, and that gets sucked in through the air vent, and the car's totaled.
Yeah,
because you can't get it out. You'd have to replace interior, and I mean, you never get rid of the.
We've seen things.
I bet. Yes. All right, we good? Welcome back.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back, and I think I'm on a good run here for a while now. So
okay,
we got everything coming up now is on the weekends, so I think we're good to go. I think I'll be.
I was going to
part
say
of the team again.
I was going to say me too, but we've got. I can't believe I'm saying this. We have a wedding in like a month and a half, 2 months, which seems so close. As opposed, it was a ways off. It was no big deal. Now I got to get pants, and it's time to get the pants. You know that whole thing.
Yeah, my wife told me last night, we were just talking about things going on, and she always is very respectful to my schedule, everything going on, and she goes, "We have a bit of a situation with the home schedule." I said, "Well, I think I know most of that. We got prom coming up for Ava. We got graduation coming up for Ava. We got Riley's wedding. Those are the major things. We got our 30th anniversary this summer. Just a few things in the home schedule." She goes, no. She goes, "Did you realize that Ava's moving day at college is the following immediate week after Riley's wedding?" And I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, nope. And she's got a choice of Monday or Wednesday. And she goes, I already told her she's got to pick Wednesday.
Yeah.
And so we'll be coming home from a wedding and jumping in what hopefully is a preloaded vehicle and taking off to drive, because college isn't in Brookings. She's not going to SDSU. She's not going to USD. She's going to Phoenix, Arizona. And so we'll be hopping in a vehicle right after the wedding to, this is a rite of passage.
She's going to come see us at Barrett Jackson if we go there in the fall?
There's a rite of passage.
Maybe.
Yeah, rite of passage. We're going to make the drive and bring her down to college and right immediately after our son gets married. So
that's tight window there. My son said they told us, well, they're not doing tuxes. He's buying a suit, for the wedding. And I was like, can I just rent a tux? That'd be it's a lot easier than trying. I'll just, whatever you guys want, you can pick it. I'll just go to
hoodie
Knight's formal wear in the mall and get measured here. And then
boy, they've made that so much easier. That whole tux thing.
Yeah. I'm all for, I'm just going to.
Like at my daughter's wedding, people from all over the country, they got measured where they were, and they showed up in Arizona, and everybody's stuff was there at the one location. And I mean, that's a good change of technology.
Always one that doesn't fit, isn't there?
That happened to me. At my wedding, it was mine. Ooh. Whatever they got, and we had to do some running around. No, I didn't. I just let it. I did whatever I was told. It was a good that was a valuable lesson too for me. That was a good.
I don't remember. Is your wedding here or down there?
It is in Vermont.
Vermont. That's not even neither of us.
Neither of us. Yeah, we have to. Yeah, everyone's going there. Yeah,
have you been to Vermont?
No, I have not.
You got to get some maple syrup, or what are we going to do there?
Yeah, we got all sorts of plans.
What else?
Ben and Jerry's. We're going to the Ben and Jerry's. We got a whole
cranberries.
We got a whole thing going on.
Is that cranberry country?
I don't know. Michigan is cranberry country.
I had a friend of mine from Boston that always wants to send me cranberries. From that area.
Okay. Good. Yeah, it could be. All right. There we go. Thanks, everybody. This is the Under the Hood Show. Subscribe, like, all that stuff. right? Okay. Thanks.